In order to protect American industry and workers, we withdrew the United States from the job-killing Paris Climate Accord. Job killer. People have no idea. Many people have no idea how bad that was. And right here in North Dakota, the Dakota Access Pipeline is finally open for business. Now, what other politician, if elected president, would have done that one? They would have stayed so far away. And I did it immediately. And I didn't even do it in that case for jobs. It was the right thing to do. And that is flowing now beautifully. So it was the right thing to do. Opened it despite so many people that were on the other side calling and asking for this not to happen. Please, we don't want it to happen. I said, why? They didn't know. There was no, they just didn't want it to happen. So I did that. I also did Keystone. You know about Keystone. Another one. Big one. Big. First couple of days in office, those two. 48,000 jobs. Tremendous, tremendous thing. I think environmentally better. I really believe that. Environmentally better. So I'm keeping my promises to the American people. I do what's right. That's all. I just do what's right. I don't think about it. I do what's right. We're seeing the results all across the country. Already, unemployment is near a 16-year low. African-American unemployment is at its lowest point since almost the turn of the millennium. Wages are rising. Optimism among manufacturers is at an all-time high. That's something I'm very proud of. And they're moving back. Tell you. The companies are moving back. The car companies are coming back. They're going back into Ohio and Michigan and Pennsylvania and lots of places. Kentucky, car companies, they're moving back. And they got to move back. Because why should we be allowing other countries to make it? Sell the cars, no cost, just put them right through our borders, cause us unemployment. It's not happening that way, believe me, and it's going to be more and more so. Because, you know, like you have to cut through red tape to do things, hard to believe. I have to cut through red tape to do things, too. They have it set, I'll tell you. America is back, and it's back right on track where it should be, and it's happening day after day after day. And we have certain areas where you have to give notice of 90 days before you can touch an act or before you can touch an executive order. Then you have to wait another 30 days and then another 90 days. Well, believe me, all of those days are coming up, and tremendous numbers of regulations have been cut. But soon you're going to see even more. And we're going to have regulation, because regulation is not bad, but you don't need 25 times what you're supposed to have. So we're going to have sensible regulation. But our country and our economy cannot take off like they should unless we reform America's outdated, complex, and extremely burdensome. I mean, this is so complicated and so burdensome, our tax code. Our painful tax system has become a massive barrier to America's economic comeback. It really is. We're penalized. It costs us millions of American jobs, trillions of dollars, and billions of hours wasted on paperwork and on compliance. Our tax code is a giant self-inflicted economic wound. In the last 10 years, our economy has grown at an average of only around 2%, and some would say less than that. When I talk to the leaders of other countries, I speak to them all the time, they're unhappy about 7 or 8 points of growth, GDP. I spoke to a leader of a major country recently. Big country. They say our country is very big. It's hard to grow. Well, believe me, this country is very big. How are you doing? I said, because I have very good relationships, believe it or not, with the leaders of these countries. I said, how are you doing? He said, not good at all. Our GDP is 7%. I say 7%. Then I speak to another one, how are you doing? Not good. Our GDP is only 9%. RGT, if you look at our number when we first got in, we were hitting 1% numbers, and nobody even talks about it. Well, last quarter, we hit 3% GDP. And I'll tell you what, a lot of that had to do with the cutting of the regulation, and I think a lot of it had to do with optimism. There's a lot of optimism now. People are starting businesses that they had no idea they were going to start a year ago. If we sustained 3% growth instead of 2%, only 1 point, and I think we have a long way to grow. I know we have a long way to grow. That means 12, think of it, 1 point, 12 million new jobs and $10 trillion of new economic activity over the next decade. Think of it, $10 trillion. And if we ever went to 4%, think of that, or 5%, or 6%. Let's see what happens. They were all sort of smiling when I said 3%. I must say we hit the number faster than I thought. But we hit 3% last quarter. If we want to renew our prosperity, restore our opportunity, and reestablish our economic dominance, which is what we should be doing, then we need tax reform that is pro-growth, pro-jobs, pro-worker, pro-family, and yes, pro-American. And anybody that's going to vote against tax cuts and tax reforms, whether it's in North Dakota or anybody else or any place else, you got to vote against them and get them out of office because it is so bad. This is not a close one. My administration is working with Congress to develop a plan that will deliver more jobs, higher pay, lower taxes, for businesses of all sizes and middle-class families all across the nation. So it's not only business taxes, it's middle-income families, it's families at every level, tax cuts. Our tax plan represents a sharp reversal from the failed policy of the past. America's high tax rates punish companies for doing business in America and encourages them to move to other countries. That's why you see in so many states, including here for a period of time, now people are starting to stay and companies are staying. They'd leave for Mexico and for other places, just routinely. Well, we've stopped it and we are stopping it. We're not going to let it happen. There has to be a price to pay when that happens, when they let our people go and that happens, and they think they can sell the product right back into the USA. There's going to be a big price to pay, and there has been, and that's why you're seeing a big change. These Washington policies have pushed industries and companies offshore, who then import their goods back into America and lay off their workers in the process. We end up with nothing. Not going to happen. My administration strongly rejects this offshoring model, and we've embraced a new model. It's called the American model. Very simple, the American model. Under the American model, we're reducing the burdens of our businesses as long as they do business in our country. We want them to do business made in the USA. We want them to do business in our country. We want our companies to hire and grow in America, to raise wages for American workers, and to help rebuild our American cities and towns. That is how we will all succeed and grow together as one team, one people, and one American family. It's love, one American family. We're going to get into great detail over the next 2 weeks, but we're working on it with Congress now and coming up with very exacting numbers. But here are my 4 basic principles for tax reform. First, we need a tax code that is simple, fair, and easy to understand, unlike what we have. Our tax code has gotten ridiculously complex. This complexity leads to massive frustration, wasted time, and wasted money. Lots of wasted money. Today, the average taxpayer has to wade through 241 pages of instructions to file a basic